This is a call for men to rise up and answer the call on your life.
Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer, where armor is forged through mental, spiritual, and physical preparation.
Welcome to First Responder Fitness with Carl Wimmer. I am your host, Carl Wimmer, and I am thankful that you have chosen to join me again for another week and another episode. Super excited to be joining you again and just grateful to be doing life with you, to have the opportunity to pour information, some great information, in fact, about physical fitness, mental fitness, and spiritual fitness every single week here at First Responder Fitness. Well, last week we had an episode where we were talking about discipline and the need to lead your heart, the necessary requirement for a man to lead their motivation rather than to be led around like a bull with a nose ring, being dragged along by their heart, by their motivation. I think we dispelled the myth that you should follow your heart, because your heart is fickle. Your heart wants comfort. Your heart bounces from one thing to the next thing, and that a real man, leads their heart where they want it to go. They know where they're going, and they lead their motivation with discipline. Well, this is part 2 of this series talking about discipline, being a man of discipline. You see, because if you look around the world in today's society, my goodness, you see some people, you ask them to be able to identify a woman, identify a man, and they can't do it. In fact, I don't know for sure who it was that was asked, can you identify a woman? And the person said, I'm not a biologist. Okay, it's just, we live in a world of absolute insanity. There are certain fundamental factors that make up a woman. There are certain fundamental factors that make up a man. And I contend that one of the things that makes up a man is being a person of discipline, being a person driven by discipline. And so part 2 of this two-part series on discipline covers slightly different areas. Last week, we talked about disciplining your physical health for the most part, and disciplining your interpersonal relationships, your relationships. This has a lot of the same information, or I should say, has a lot of the same application, but it is slightly different. This week, I want to talk to you about disciplining your purpose in life. Disciplining your purpose in life. This is a call for men to rise up and answer the call on your life through discipline. See, a man without purpose is dangerous. He's a danger to himself. He's a danger to everyone around him. Our prison system is full of men without purpose. Full of, I should say, males. I'm not sure I qualify grown adolescents as men. They made very poor choices time after time and finally ended up in prison, a majority of them. But regardless of how you put it, a man without purpose is a danger to himself and everyone else around him. I don't care how physically strong you are. I don't care how dialed in your diet is. If you don't know why you're doing something, if you don't know why you're doing it all, it will all eventually break down. So again, this episode is about the one discipline that makes all other disciplines sustainable. The discipline of purpose. This is the fire that turns pain into fuel. This is the fire that turns boredom into vision. It is the fire that turns random hustle and busyness into a legacy-driven mission. The discipline of purpose. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Same goes for men. That is just true word. Same goes for men. Where there is no vision, there is no future. Where there's no vision, the people perish. Where there is no vision, there is no future. And that is absolutely correct for men. We need vision. We need purpose. Purpose gives discipline. It's why. Why are you disciplined? A man with no purpose, I think we all know men who have no purpose. People who have nothing they're focused on, no cause, no drive, no purpose in life. And a man with no purpose will drift into passivity. Or they'll bury themselves in silly distractions, or worse yet, they'll spiral into anxiety and perhaps a midlife crisis or midlife panic. But purpose doesn't just happen. Purpose must be chosen. It must be disciplined. It must be honed to a fine razor's edge, and it must be lived. You must have discipline to have purpose. Otherwise, you're just a rudderless ship going through life. Understand this, men. Most of you, you feel tired. Many of you, you just feel tired. You feel unmotivated. You're not tired. You're unfulfilled. You're fighting battles that you were never called to fight. You're focusing on things you were never meant to focus on. In this world where technology is amazing, I'm making use of technology now by being able to come to you with this podcast. But in this world where there are so many distractions, you are not tired. You're unfulfilled because you're focused on things that just simply do not matter. You're focused on fighting battles that you're not meant to fight. So many men that I have talked to, so many men that I see in the world, they feel exhausted. They feel anxious. They feel angry. And it's not because they're lazy, but it's because of the distractions and fighting all of these different battles on every different front when they shouldn't be even worrying about most of them. That is what happens when you live without the discipline of purpose. When you don't have the discipline of purpose, you trade your mission for noise. And that's just the truth. You trade your life's mission for the noise that's around you, for the static, for the things that don't matter, for the squirrel climbing the tree, okay? You get distracted, you lack discipline, and you do not focus on your purpose. Let me just give you a couple examples. Perhaps you're climbing a ladder. You're climbing the ladder of life, but you're climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. You're grinding at work. You're chasing your status. You're padding that bank account. Good job, you're providing. But whilst you're climbing this ladder that I say is leaning against the wrong wall, while you're climbing this ladder, Your kids are starving for your presence. They're starving for your guidance. They're starving for your disciplined leadership. Your wife is growing distant as you climb this endless ladder. Your faith is dying a quiet death. You know, you may feel in life like, especially if you have a good career, you're climbing, you're winning, you're conquering. But what if you're climbing the wrong mountain? What if the mountain you're climbing leads to despair rather than the focus and the purpose that you were meant to be, the purpose you were meant for? Another issue that men have is oftentimes they're fighting for comfort instead of calling. Maybe that's you. Your life is predictable. It's efficient. It's comfortable. You've got yourself a little routine, a little 9 to 5, and you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to take any risks in life. You got your routine, but you've got no fire. You've got no calling. You've got a calendar, but you have no calling. And a man without calling will eventually lose his spark. He will lose his spark, and you will spiral into one of these middle-aged depressions that so many men run into. And you'll start to feel tired and unmotivated about life. Why? Because comfort is the great lie. Comfort is the great lie. It weakens us. It makes us soft. We should be risk takers. Men should be risk takers. We should be out there slaying the dragons and working toward our purpose. Instead of being distracted, we need to focus with discipline on our life's purpose. Trust me on this. Comfort is the enemy to your calling. It'll lull you to sleep while your purpose dies in the background. You'll be comfy. You'll be in a routine. You'll be in a predictable, everyday, day in and day out routine. Maybe you like boring. Maybe you like routine. Maybe it feels safe. But as you are lulled to sleep by comfort, your purpose dies in the background. It's a serious issue. A third issue that I would bring to your attention is the fact that so many of us are fighting cultural wars while losing the war at home. I look at the divisiveness, the division in this country, and all of the political noise and nonsense that exists in the world today. And people are assaulting one another and hurting one another. They're trying to kill the president. They take shots at him. They hate him. They hate each other. You know, it's ridiculous because, you know, you might be one of these folks. You're sitting there watching CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, whatever the case may be, and you're yelling at the news. You're fired up about what's happening at the White House. You're fired up about the Epstein scandal. Okay. Are you fired up about your marriage? Are you fired up about your house? Are you fired up about your children? You'll yell at the TV, you'll watch the news, and you'll get passionate about that, but you haven't prayed for your wife, you haven't talked to your wife, you haven't read a Bible verse to your kids in years. Have you sat down and have had actual conversations with your children, with your wife? You're loud about politics. You're loud about cultural wars. You're loud about fighting for everything Accept the things that matter. You're loud about politics, but quiet where it matters the most. In your home. That's one of the reasons we lose our purpose. Your job as a man is to lead there first. You see how these are interconnected, right? The discipline of purpose is interconnected with the discipline of family relationships that we talked about last week. Because if you don't have purpose, what do you have? Part of the reason you do the things you do is for your why. What is your purpose? Where is your direction? What is the calling on your life? You've got to have the discipline to know and then go get it. Brother, listen, the devil's going to distract you with decoys and lies. Don't let culture bait you into battles that burn up your energy, your time, but they build nothing. I'm guilty of this. I will get in arguments on social media with people that I do not know, people that I don't care about, people that have nothing to do with my life, people who do not affect me in the least. And I will dive down these rabbit holes arguing with people, and it takes me away from the people that matter the most. Don't be that way. Don't let culture bait you into these battles that burn your energy but build nothing for you. Your greatest fight is for your purpose. Your greatest fight is for your family, for your legacy. Fight there. If you want to fight, you can only fight so many battles. It's interesting how we get distracted about things, how we fight weird battles, because just this week, I had this come home to me. I was texted by a relative of mine, a close relative of mine, who wanted me to get fired up and get involved in a criminal case where he believes that the suspect is being set up. The suspect is being compelled to plead guilty when he's not really guilty. And he wants me to get fired up over it. And he wants me to sign petitions. He wants me to spread the word. And I just shut my relative down right away. I just said, look, I used to care a lot about politics. And in many cases, I still do. But I used to focus on politics. It used to be my life, to be honest with you, in my past life. Politics was, in fact, my life. But no more. All I want to do now is focus on the things I can control. I can control the things within my sphere, my family. I can focus on them. I can focus on my legacy. That's where I can fight. That's where I can win, within the walls of my own home. That's the war that I was made for. And men, that's the war you were made for. You were never made to become rage bait for every headline. You were never meant to be the type of person that chases everything that irritates you down every trail and just constantly battle at the front of battles that do not affect you and that you can do nothing about. Fix your life first. Fix your purpose first. Discipline yourself to focus where it matters. Because if you don't, you are going to lose what matters most, whilst you fight winless battles. Don't be like that. Your purpose is where you are meant to lead. You've got to find your purpose. You've got to find your purpose. And it won't be found, in the mirror, following your heart. Finding your purpose is going to be found on your knees, praying. It's going to be found meditating and studying God's word. Finding your purpose is going to be found in the needs of the most important people around you. That is where your purpose is going to be found. What is your purpose? You were built, men, listen to me. You were built to lead. You were built to protect. You were built to build and carry weight and to heft this load for your family, for your loved ones, for your spouse. But we've gotten so complacent. We live in a world that tells men to blend in, sit down, follow your heart, follow your feelings. No. A real man leads himself first so that you can lead others well. Do you understand what I'm saying? You've got to discipline yourself to your singular purpose in life. Your purpose was custom made for you, but you have to step into it. And so many men don't even find their purpose in 80 or 90 years of life. They just go through life driven by nothing, driven by every distraction that catches their attention, rather than disciplining themselves to focus on their purpose. If you want to be a good leader, you've got to learn to lead yourself first, and then you can lead others. That's the bottom line. You know, men, you know that you were meant, you were built for more than the comfortable life you're living. You were built for impact. You were built to have an impact. You were built to be a leader, not to stand on the sidelines and cheer as other people pass you by. You were meant to be in the fight, in the game, in the fray, moving forward and leading with discipline. But that's uncomfortable. And sometimes you just want to sit down and be comfortable. Or sometimes you get distracted. You know, your family, your kids, your wife, your God, they don't need you to be perfect, but they need you to show up. They need you to be in the game. They need you to show up every day. They need you to live for purpose. They need you to discipline your life to live for the purpose for which you were called. Living on purpose isn't emotional hype. It's gritty, daily discipline. That's it, living on purpose. When you are on your purpose, it is not all sunshine and roses. It's not all victories, but it is gritty, daily discipline. It's saying no to the distractions, saying no to comfort, saying no to taking and fighting every stinking battle that comes your way. It is locking in your focus, when the world is pulling you 100 different ways. It's locking dead set on what you want to accomplish in life, what you have been called to accomplish in life, and it is being laser disciplined, laser focused on accomplishing that rather than letting the world pull you a million different ways. It's walking into every room, knowing who you are and why you're there. So many, you hear so many people, they say, I need to just go find myself. Okay, go find yourself. But once you find yourself, how about you focus with laser intensity and discipline on your purpose, your goals, the reason that you are alive. I want to encourage you to take a couple action points, men. You can write these down. They'll be in the show notes, but I want you to just focus on a couple action points that will help you to stay focused on your purpose, to discipline yourself on your purpose. The first action point I want you to take is write a mission statement for your life. Write down a mission statement. What is your life's mission statement? You know, every company out there has a mission statement. Every business starts with a mission statement. What is our goal? What is our purpose? What are we here for? What are you here for? What is your purpose? What is your life's mission statement? You know, even if it's just a rough draft, even if it's just kind of rough, write down a mission statement. The second action point I want you to take is I want you to audit your schedule. Audit your schedule. What is distracting you from your purpose? Is it the news? Is it pop culture? Is it comfort? Is it climbing ladders that are on the wrong wall? What is distracting you from your life purpose? Discover those things and get rid of those things. The third action point I would give you is commit to take action. Every day, I want you to think of one action that you could take that aligns with your legacy. And I want you to do it. If you have to wake up in the morning and write something down, if you have to get up in the morning and think, okay, today I'm going to eliminate this from my life so that I can focus on my purpose, my legacy, I'm going to do that. Or if you have a goal, you're going to take a step towards that goal every single day. You are not going to just float along anymore and expect things to happen. Nothing happens without action. I've talked about this time and time again. Nothing changes unless you change. No action takes place unless you take radical action. So I want you to commit to yourself to take action every day that aligns with your legacy. Ask yourself every day, does this move me toward the man I need to become? Does this move me toward my purpose? Or does it distract me from my purpose? Does this move me towards the legacy I'm trying to leave? Or does this distract me from my legacy? Very important. Those three action points are so critical. I encourage you to go back and listen to them again and commit them to your life. Men of discipline commit actions in their life. And those are three that you can start implementing today. Write a mission statement, audit your schedule, and commit to take action. I want to now give you, just very briefly, a couple supporting disciplines that will help you stay calibrated and focused on the discipline of purpose. This idea that you have a purpose in life, this idea that you need to leave a legacy for your family, this idea that you have priorities, purpose in life, and that you need to discipline yourself towards that purpose. I want to give you just a couple supporting disciplines that will help you along the way. The first one is mental discipline, okay? Because mental disease, mental issues are a very real concern with men these days. It's not something that's talked about, but mental illness is a serious issue. And we as men need to be aware of it, and we need to take captive our thoughts and our mental health. We need to prioritize it. You need to guard your thoughts. Your purpose dies when you entertain lies and false ideas and you chase rabbit trails that lead nowhere. You need to guard your thoughts and discipline your thoughts. Take your thoughts captive, as the Bible says. Stay focused on your assignments. So important. If you need to get mental help, I encourage you to do it. The stigma is over. Mental health and mental issues are a real thing. And I encourage you to get counseling, get help if you need it. But you need to make sure that your mental focus, your mental clarity, your mental strength is strong. You need to be disciplined enough to take your mental issues, your thoughts, your mind captive so it can help you focus on your purpose. The second thing I would mention, the second discipline, is spiritual discipline. You will need divine strength if you're going to answer your divine calling. If you're trying to live out God-sized missions, you're going to need God to help you accomplish it. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. You're going to burn out. Trust me, you need to discipline your spiritual life. What that means, quite simply, is this. I have very strong feelings about this, but I try to guard you as the viewer of First Responder Fitness from many of those feelings. I try to be more open to a wider audience. Let me just say this. You need to be living for a purpose that's bigger than yourself. Daily meditation, daily prayer, daily time spent in quiet reflection and gratitude, daily time spent in God's Word, the Bible, is a great way to start. I'm happy to give you other ideas if you would like. Just comment below, and I'm happy to give you some direction one-on-one. But we need to guard our spiritual lives. If you're going to answer the call on your life, you're going to need God and everything that you can to direct you towards your discipline, your purpose in life. Understand this. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Men, your wife doesn't need a perfect husband. Your kids do not need a flawless dad. They need a man who is on a mission, who is laser focused and crystal clear about his purpose, and who is focusing and fighting and pursuing that purpose. They need a dad, a man who is showing up every day, who is leading himself so that he can lead them. You understand that? Your wife doesn't need a perfect husband. Your kids do not need a flawless dad. They need a man who's on a mission, who's showing up, who's leading himself so he can lead them every day. You don't have to know every single step. You just have to take that first one. Men, get clear on your purpose and then discipline your life to walk in your purpose. Rise up to the calling that God, your family, and you have placed on yourself. People are relying on you. Rise up and be laser focused on your purpose. You were not born to just survive, to just float through life, to be an amoeba bouncing around in this sphere of life on earth. You were born to lead. You were born to carry a heavy load. You were born to leave a legacy. So men, get up, lock in, and let's go. I'm Carl Wimmer for First Responder Fitness. I want to encourage you to like and subscribe. Be a part of what we're doing here at First Responder Fitness. I would ask you as a favor to share this video with friends. Hopefully they will like it, subscribe. We can keep bringing videos out each week to you. And until then, be good to yourself, be good to others, and as always, stay safe.